The Silence of Blackhill. David gripped the steering wheel tightly. His old Ford pickup struggled to gain traction on the muddy road winding through the northern forests of Oregon. Outside, the autumn rain poured as if the sky had been torn open, the droplets drumming rhythmically against the windshield like fingers tapping on glass. When David bought this place, the Blackhill estate, the real estate agent had given him a strange look. "Mr. Thompson, are you sure? That house has been vacant since the 1920s. The last owner didn't feel quite right there," the agent had said, averting his gaze. David had just laughed. He was a writer. He needed exactly that, a place not quite right, far from people, ruled by silence. After his latest novel failed, he hoped to escape the noise of New York and find his muse here. Finally, the trees thinned and the house appeared atop the hill. It was a massive structure built in the Victorian style, with 3 floors, a turret, and windows that looked like the pitch-black eyes of a corpse. The wood had blackened from the rain, and a swing on the porch creaked in the wind. David stepped out of the car. The cold air burned his lungs. He grabbed his luggage and walked up to the porch. The key turned in the lock with difficulty, as if the house didn't want to let him in. The door opened, a smell of dampness, dust, and something else. The scent of rotting flowers wafted out. "Hello, new house," David whispered. His voice echoed through the empty hall. But the echo was strange. It didn't fade immediately. Instead, it sounded slightly distant, as if someone were repeating his words back to him from the darkness. Chapter 2. Scratches on the Wall. The first week passed quietly. David set up his workspace in a second-floor room with a window facing the forest. But writing was difficult. Every time he pressed a key on his keyboard, the house seemed to answer. The floorboards creaked, pipes groaned, or something fell with a thud in the attic. On the third night, David woke up with a start. The clock read 03:17 a.m. The rain had stopped. The forest was in dead silence, but it wasn't the silence that woke him. It was a sound from behind the wall. Scritch, scritch, scritch. It sounded like fingernails slowly but determinedly scratching against wood. The sound was coming from the other side of the bedroom wall from the hallway. David held his breath. "It's an old house, probably just rats," he tried to convince himself. But what kind of rat scratches the middle of a wall, 5 feet off the ground? He got up and slowly opened the door. The hallway was pitch black. He turned on his flashlight, directing the beam at the wall. Nothing, just peeling wallpaper. "You're going crazy, David," he told himself. The next morning, he examined the wall. In the daylight, he noticed something he had missed in the flashlight's beam. On the wall, right at eye level, were 3 parallel grooves. These weren't random scratches. They were letters carved by sharp claws. David's blood ran cold. This wasn't just shh. It was a warning. Was someone watching the house? Or was it a prank left by previous squatters? He decided to go to the basement to get some tools. As the agent had mentioned, the basement key was in a kitchen drawer. Chapter 3. The Discovery in the Basement. The basement stairs were rotten. David stepped carefully as he descended. Down there, amidst old furniture and dusty boxes, stood a large trunk in the corner. David opened the trunk. Inside were old books, newspapers, and a leather-bound diary. The cover read, "Arthur Blackhill, 1924. David took the diary and went upstairs into the light. That day, he abandoned his writing and began reading the journal. The initial pages were mundane: harvest, weather, house repairs. But by October 1924, The entries began to change. The handwriting became jagged, with ink blotches scattered everywhere. October 14th. They live inside the walls. At first, I thought they were rats. But they are mimicking me. If I cough, they cough. If I laugh, a cold laughter echoes from behind the plaster. October 20th. I saw them. Last night in the mirror, my reflection. It didn't move in time with me. I raised my hand, but my reflection kept its hands down. It smiled at me. God, it had too many teeth. Last entry, October 31st. Silence. They only like noise. If I stay quiet, they cannot find me. I must cut out my tongue, then I cannot scream. Then I will be safe. David slammed the book shut. His hands were trembling. Just the ravings of a madman, he told himself. Suddenly, a loud crash came from the kitchen. David jumped up and ran in. The kettle that had been on the table was now on the floor, shattered to pieces. The windows were closed. There was no wind, no cat or dog. The kettle had flown off the table by itself. And then he heard it. From the second floor, from his bedroom. Someone was typing on his keyboard. Clack, 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 clack. Chapter 4. The guest David grabbed a kitchen knife. His heart pounded against his ribs. He began to ascend the stairs slowly. The typing didn't stop. Whoever it was, they were typing incredibly fast. "Who's there?" David shouted. The sound stopped. Absolute silence. David kicked the bedroom door open. The room was empty. The window was open, curtains fluttering in the breeze, but the laptop screen was glowing. David approached it. Microsoft Word was open. The page was covered in text. But it wasn't a story. It was a single sentence repeated thousands of times. I see you, I see you, I see you, I see you. And at the very bottom, where the cursor blinked, a new sentence appeared, even though David hadn't touched the keyboard. Look behind you, David. David spun around. By the door, in the shadows, he saw a tall figure. It was as tall as the doorframe. Its arms were unnaturally long, and its fingers, they were sharp as knives, just like whatever had scratched the wall. The creature had no face, just smooth, pale skin, but from somewhere, perhaps its throat, came a strange, rasping sound. David! It was David's own voice. The creature had copied it perfectly. Chapter 5. The Escape. David was ready to throw himself out the window, but he was on the second floor. He hurled a chair at the creature and used the distraction to sprint into the hallway. The creature didn't scream. It laughed. The laugh sounded like thousands of people screaming in unison. David tumbled down the stairs. His leg shot through with pain likely broken, but he ignored it. His only goal: get the car keys and leave this cursed place. But the front door was locked. David turned the latch, but it wouldn't budge. It was as if the door had become part of the wall. You invited me in. Now you cannot leave, the voice said. This time it came from everywhere. David backed away. The house was changing. The hallways were elongating. The faces in the portraits on the walls were twisting into grotesque monsters. He spotted the basement door. It was open, and for some reason, the only path, however illogical, seemed to lead there. Because the upper floor was gone, the stairs now leading into infinite darkness. David scrambled into the basement and locked the door from the inside. He hid in the dark behind a pile of old coal. Footsteps thundered from above. Thump, thump. Then the doorknob turned. Chapter 6. The Truth. David sat in the dark, trying to catch his breath. His hand accidentally brushed against a loose brick in the basement wall. He pulled it out. Inside was a small dictaphone. It was more modern, likely from the 1990s. With trembling hands, David pressed play. The voice of a young woman, crying, whispered from the tape. My name is Sarah. I came to restore this house. But this house, it's alive. It's not made of brick and wood. It's built of memories and pain. It feeds on our fear. Arthur Blackhill didn't build this house. He found it. This place is ancient. If you are hearing this, I am dead. The only way is to deny it what it wants. Don't be afraid. Don't scream. Maintain silence. It is blind. It only hears the sound of fear. The tape ended. David understood. His heartbeat, his rapid breathing, his screams, they were all a beacon showing the creature exactly where he was. The door upstairs shattered. The creature stood at the top of the basement stairs. Its long shadow fell over David. The creature turned its head toward him, but it had no eyes. It was listening. David closed his eyes. He slowed his breathing. He forced his heart to calm down. The creature descended. It sniffed the air. It walked right past David, inches away. Its cold breath hit David's face. If David screamed now, he would die. If he moved, he would die. The creature, frustrated, began throwing boxes around. It was hunting. David became a statue. He imagined he didn't exist. He was stone. He was dust. He was no one. It felt like hours passed. Finally, with a disgruntled growl, the creature went back upstairs. David didn't move until dawn. Chapter 7. Origins, the Black Diary. Among the papers where David found the dictaphone, hidden deep in the wall, was another leather-bound notebook. This was the final piece of the puzzle. Arthur Blackhill's last testimony. September 2nd, 1924. During construction, workers found a hollow space under the foundation. It's not a natural cave. The walls are smooth as glass but made of stone. The workers refused to enter. They said they heard weeping coming from it, not wind. I laughed and fired them. I will go down myself. September 15th, 1924. I found it. It is not a cave. It is a prison. Deep in the darkness stands a stone statue left by tribes older than the natives. It has no eyes, and its mouth is sewn shut. I recognized one symbol on the base, silence. I was a fool. I moved the statue. Beneath it was a fissure. I opened it. October 10th, 1924. I understand now. What I released from below is not a body. It is an echo. It is an ancient entity. It does not belong to our world. It feeds on noise. The louder we speak, laugh, or cry, the stronger it becomes. Today, Elizabeth vanished. I called her. I screamed. I brought the whole forest down with my shouting. It was my fault. My screaming summoned it. It pulled Elizabeth into the walls. October 31st, 1924. Final entry. I cannot leave this house. If I leave, it will follow me. I must stay as its warden. I have cut out my tongue. I can no longer scream. I will no longer feed it. If anyone reads this, please make no noise, because it has already heard you. Epilogue. The Survivor. When the morning sunbeams hit the basement window, David slowly stood up. The house was quiet. This time, a true silence. He went upstairs. The front door was standing open. He walked out. The rain had stopped. The air was crisp. David didn't get into his car. He simply walked toward the main road. He didn't look back. Days later, the police found his car and belongings. They found David in a hospital in the nearest town. He wouldn't speak. The doctors said he was in shock. But David wasn't just in shock. He had learned a lesson. He knew that there are places in this world where sound equals death. And he had decided never to speak again. Because sometimes, late at night in his hospital room, amidst the bustle of the city, he could still hear a familiar sound coming from behind the wall. Scritch, scritch, shh. The end.